saddle I see. Whiskey makes me feel alright. Gonna down, don't shut down in the street. If I don't change my ways.
You're listening to WeP3 Radio. This partnership of Reach Across America Radio with the mission to remember the fallen, honor those who have served, and to teach the future generations the value of freedom created by the men and women who have served our country. Currently playing on WeP3 Radio, Brian LaRose, How the West Was Won.
Knowing even legends can't stop the rain and run. Riding on my wild horse and bleeding through the boom and bust. Well, I changed my...
Left, your left, hey. Left, right, your left. You got it!
Truck it on.
Doctors, roll out. You're watching or listening to We Got Your 6 and 6 Patriot Playtime. We the people, the People's Patriot Project.
To put your skill set, your thoughts, and ideas, or want to help continue the mission, you have come to the right place. We are the People's Patriot Project, and we are the shock and awe when it comes to meeting the needs of our veterans and first responders. We are dealing with a new enemy in today's world where the wounds are not always seen. We want you to be a part of this mission in saving lives and making a difference. Welcome to We Got Your 6 at 6 Patriot Playtime. Here's the WeP3 team bringing you today's best heroes hits in the boots on the ground organizations that are saving lives. And as always, Patriot Pride.
Left, your left, hey. Left, right, your left. You got it!
Truck it on.
And there we are. Hi. Hey, there's a lot of extra music. Welcome to our Sunday night show. This is Andrea Eichmann here with the People's Patriot Project, bringing you our weekly show and podcast in a day or two that we call We Got Your 6 at 6. Every week, we bring you guests and sometimes new artists, and then we share all the good and maybe not so good things that are happening in our world. This week, we have some new faces with lots to share. Rob Sarver and Alex Gendzier. I said it wrong. Gendzier. I think I spelled it wrong, Alex. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. They're here to share their stories, how they've come to be among the foremost authorities on veteran transition in the United States and are frequently invited to speak and work with veterans and companies that hire them. We also have Brooks Herring. He's coming in to share his music and to share with what he's up to right now. We are sponsored tonight by Catch-22 with Derek Arozio, Operation Texas Strong, the Boho Hobos Hideaway with Lauren, and our very own Kimmer Gwinner, who will not be with us tonight. Sadly, she's working on some other things right now. Brian Kenzer, who is usually with us, he's sailing a ship in the Caribbean. I don't know what he's doing right now. Captain Brian's busy, but he supports us with his business, Smart Living Today. Smart Living Today is about getting on the right side of your health, supporting American families, jobs, and the economy, and supporting the WeP3 mission. I will share with you later a video link where Brian himself tells us what he does and how he does it and how you can get in touch with him to join him on that mission. The People's Patriot Project, We Got Your 6 at 6, can also be heard on Reads Across America Radio, Sunday evenings at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can find Reads Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. Just search the word Wreath. Boom. Thank you to our sponsors, our guests, our viewers. Before we start this week's show, we would ask that you take off your hats, stand if you can, cover your hearts, and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United
America
States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
Amen.
Oh, we're all mixed up. We're all mixed up. The podcasters won't know what we're talking about. Well, we know what we're talking about. But everyone where they belong. We are here. We are here. This February 16th. I hear that groundhog said that we got 6 weeks left of winter. What does your winter look like, Jonathan Crochet?
It's a freezing cold 55 right now.
Slow down, sugar. Slow down.
Yeah,
You
well,
said
we got to break
freezing
out the
cold
winter jacket.
what?
55.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to break out the snow gear tomorrow.
Mr. Gendzier, what's your winter looking like right now?
It is beautiful. We got a foot of snow last night. It's about 30 degrees. Went snowshoeing today for about an hour. It was awesome.
Mr. Herring, your winter?
Man, we got some flurries today. It's like 33 right now. I think it's the real feel was like in the 20s today, but just some cute little flurries, nothing that's gonna stick.
So to give everyone a heads up, Mr. Alex Gendzier is in New York. Brooks Herring is in Nashville. Mr. Rob Sarver is in Texas. Jonathan's in Louisiana. And me and Mrs. Eichmann get the joy of living our blustery winter experience up here in Minnesota. Rob, what's your winter look like right now?
I'm 46 right now, dropping to 30 tonight. And this next week will be, we're going to get down in the teens, actually.
Does that bring panic to you and your space in your world when it gets that chilly down in Texas?
It doesn't, it doesn't bring panic to me, but for the entire city, it almost shuts down. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
One snow flurry and they cancel school. And they've already done that this year.
So it seems like Jonathan is living with the highest temps in in Louisiana right now. I'm seeing 4 degrees in my space. Is that right?
Do I have 5? I got
Okay.
5.
Yeah.
Feels like -3.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I don't know
Well,
what kind of
welcome
prize you won,
everyone.
but you win, and it ain't good.
Welcome everyone to our Sunday night experience called "We Got Your 6 at 6," the People's Patriot Project. Actually, we the People's Patriot Project. For the most part, we do host 2 veterans and first responders, but we also want to make sure that we're getting the men and women who haven't had a chance to serve to get a chance into this space, which is a great conversation when we have Mr. Gendzier in here and Mrs. Eichmann, both who are continuing the mission. They'll argue with you that, and I think, that they're not service folk, but I'll tell you, their families were part of the service. So they are the glue that held this all together, and we appreciate them. And those are the ones we need to remember as well. The young ones who didn't sign up for the mission, the spouses that didn't sign up for the mission, the mas and pas that didn't sign up for the mission, they're part of the mission, and that we truly believe in that. Before we get started real quick, we also want to make sure we do our call to action. We do it every Sunday. It used to be at the end of the show, and then we realized that we were missing so many of our viewers. So we do it at the beginning of the show now. Everyone's got a device in their possession. We know that there's some people that like to do sit-ups. Some people like to do push-ups. Some people like to go on a rec march to bring recognition. And we know that there's some people like to kind of bomb those ideas, which is fine. I don't care. Shut up. Let them do what they want to do. We're going to do what we want to do. You're going to do what you want to do. I'm going to ask you to text or to put on a text thread. I was just thinking about you. Cut and paste that. Drop it into 6 different conversations and let your brothers and sisters know that you're thinking about them. It is an effective way, to communicate, build relationships, and making sure they all know that you're there. I've done a number of them today. It's not about me. I don't do it to get anything out of it other than the fact that there's a lot of people that I like hanging around. And I don't want to read the story tomorrow that they're not hanging around because something got in between their ears and said that that's the way it's supposed to be. So do it. Get it done. You can get it done during the show unless you're watching the show, and then you can just get it done. You don't want to know when I do it most of the time, and that's fine too. It's so
Same, man.
I start the morning off with a cup of coffee. Yep, that's how it works. Don't want to plant any seeds there. Jonathan Crochet, what's in the news, brother?
So tomorrow, February 17th, is President's Day. Many state and government workers will have the day off, but that was actually the intention. In 1971, President's Day was intentionally moved to the 3rd Monday of the month in order to create more 3-day weekends for the public. It was believed that at this point in the year that the restorative effects of winter had passed, and the hope was that this 3-day weekend would regenerate some of the lost stamina in the workforce and create more productivity nationwide. A few facts about some of our past presidents. Lincoln would have been the tallest president at 6'4", and James Madison at 5'4" was the shortest. President Teddy Roosevelt was 42 at the start of his tenure, making him the youngest president to take office, and our current sitting president, Donald Trump, is now the oldest president to take office with his 2nd term. February 19th is I had to go and grab it. It's the United States Coast Guard Reserve birthday. On June 23rd in 1939, Congress gave the Coast Guard Reserve a legislative mandate to use civilians. It was done to promote safety on the high seas and the nation's navigable waters. It was non-military and was formed by unpaid volunteer U.S. citizens who owned yachts or boats. On February 19th, 1941, Congress would amend the 1939 Act by passing the Auxiliary and Reserve Act of 1941. It designated the reserve as a military branch, with the civilians forming the auxiliary. It became the Coast Guard Reserve and its founding day is February 19th. In 1994, downsizing would lead to the Coast Guard Reserve stopping the operations of its all reserve units, except for port security units. Today, there are only approximately 6,200 members of the Coast Guard Reserve. And that is all I had for the news tonight.
Thank you for doing that, Jonathan. Miss Eichmann, I don't want to throw you under the bus.
Nope, we got some hellos to do, don't we? Hello, hello. Look at Jeremy Daniels, present as weekly. I'm trying to remember if I had tacos. I don't think I had tacos this week. Jeremy, not this week, not this week. Derek Iozio, who, thank you for noticing, Derek, that we weren't actually live when we started out. So we're here now. Thanks for being here. Mr. Godfather. We have Amanda Brown. She's a hey and a hi. This woman, do you need some attention right now, Amanda? We're going to give you some attention. Here you are. Thank you for being here, Amanda. Terry Daniels. Amanda, it's going well on our end. Sounds like your weather is all right down there.
Well, they got snow.
She's planning. She's always planning, though. Oops. Right? She's in the midst of planning things, So there we go. There's a little start tonight. I see a lot of watchers. They haven't commented yet. So
yeah, don't just be a watcher. That's weird. That's weird. Don't be a weirdo. Say hi. Let us shout you out. Text us. Do what you need to do. It's hard to write intros and share how exciting it is, and the people that we get to have. And this was a conversation I had with another guest that had recently been on we are absolutely blessed by the people that they make a decision to come on to the We Got Your 6 at 6 and share about the mission that they're currently in. And the people we've got to introduce ourselves, the people that we've got to build relationships with, has been phenomenal. And thank you for opening your minds, gentlemen. I'm assuming there's a small part. I mean, we do have a Navy SEAL in here. Some of you opened your hearts a little bit. We'll find the heart for our Navy SEAL guy here in a bit. And no, he seems like he's got his stuff together. They all do. I mean, let's not make fun of the Navy SEALs. You shouldn't do that. They were in the room before we even knew they were here today. So that is the piece. But we got Alex Gendzier and Rob Sarver. They've put together a workbook, but we're going to let them tell you what the mission is about. And then we got one of our faves from the great town of Nashville, Brooks Herring, coming in. Is one of the most diverse, I'll say eclectic in a sense, in the fact that he is our country singer with a mohawk. He's sitting, getting ready to go in on a gig right now. The last time I saw him, he had a little flag toothpick in his beard. And it was, I mean, he's the guy that we want in our corner because those are the kind of people we got. Alex and Rob, thanks for being here, brothers.
Thanks for having us. So we're going to tag team this. You guys do like an eyebrow raise when you want the other guy to talk, and we'll go that route. Or use the force, because I know that's a tool that our Navy SEALs has. They have the force, and they just, and then Alex will be like, I got it. What's the mission, brothers? Tell us why you're here.
So Alex and I spent the last 5 years doing a lot of research interviews with veterans to help them transition successfully out of the military. Statistically, we looked at 70% of veterans get out. They have some sort of stress behind them. And really, Alex can speak more to the statistics behind this, but the U.S. government, the VA, they have good process. They have some good systems in place, but at the moment that the system is so taxed with, we've never seen this amount of veterans before. At 22 million, we have roughly 200 to 250,000 getting out a year. The system cannot handle that. So you have over 40,000 nonprofits out there trying to figure this out. So what Alex and I did is we took a journey over 5 years to write the most comprehensive practical manual for folks to get out. So, Alex?
Yeah, excuse me. It's kind of a perfect storm in our country's history. As Rob said, there is a high point in the number of vets alive today, 22 million. We've never had that number. About 15 million spouses and family members. Again, high point. Rob mentioned 200 to 250,000 getting out every year. We've got 3.5 million active duty folks and contractors at the DoD, many of whom are thinking about getting out. At the same time, you have historically high numbers of distress. We are not saying veterans are distressed, but there is distress in this community. There are suicide rates that we believe the government underreports. We can talk about that. We're talking about depression, homelessness, substance abuse, continued trauma and PTSD and TBI. And while these things are the result of the last of our 20 years wars and the end of them, our country, media, most public awareness, that awareness is going down because we're not in wars, and so there's no publicity around it, and yet the needs are rising. Rob and I began this venture 5 years ago for deeply personal reasons on each of our sides. We worked together at a business, and we thought that over time we could produce a field manual or a guide for veterans and their families about getting out. After a lot of research and not wanting to write another book about or by veterans, what we did was we created something that we think didn't exist before, and we can talk about it. But that's the highlight.
I appreciate it. There's so many. I mean, to let everyone know, we had a pre-show meeting last Tuesday, and I didn't get a feel. We sat there and we talked. It was almost 2 hours, and we never even covered all the bases. And that's going to be a frustrating piece about tonight, because it's just going to be a postage stamp of an opportunity to share what you guys do and what the book entails and the plights that we're dealing with on the side. We talked about it at the pre-show, and it's not only that we have a astronomical record-breaking amount of people coming out of the service, we have a muddied water concept because our brothers and sisters really do want to help, but we've got 58,000 organizations that are muddying the waters for our brothers and sisters who are struggling. They've got the gumption and the hope and to ask for the help, and they're already in crisis. We don't have time to dilly-dally with where's the resource, where are we going to put them, how are we going to accommodate it. And your list, very thorough, still missing some significant pieces in the list. I mean, not that I'm sure you did it because of a time frame and that, but I mean, you got military sexual trauma, you got drug addiction, you got alcoholism, you got all these pieces. I'm excited. It's a great document. I wish we could figure out a way to, whether you're in 4 years or 30 years or more, there needs to be a transition understanding. And the reality is the people in the mix of it don't know it. They don't know it. They're in the middle of serving. They're in the middle of, and they're pretending. You get a snippet of what the real world looks like, because we all have to live in the real world, but it's not a fully functional, like, hey, at the end of the year, we got to pay our taxes. At the end of the year, we got to make sure that we got a job, housing. And so, no, I appreciate the time and effort you guys have put into it, and also investing into this conversation.
Well, let's dig into what you said.
Okay, go ahead.
Interrupting you. I guess there's a time delay. So, Mark, you've hit on several really key things here. We do our veterans and their families a great disservice in numerous ways. We welcome them in. The DoD is now under its quotient of new recruits. You want people to get in and serve, and we don't do anything on the way out that is of significance in terms of training. There are the TAP programs. They're well-intended, and they fail horribly. We say that with great love for our country and great devotion to our government, but our government doesn't do enough. And we do our veterans a disservice by not warning them that this is a life transition that will be major. For many, we liken it to stepping off the world of the known, the comfortable, and stepping off a cliff into an unknown, to a great abyss. It can be terrifying, it can be isolating and alienating, it can be fear-producing. We don't have to instill fear in veterans, but we need to tell them this is a transition you need to prepare for. And said with great deference and respect, because I never had the honor of serving, veterans themselves need to be prepared for this mission. Some very smart folks, smarter than me, said in response to some veterans they mentor and treat, in the military we train for everything. What have you done, veteran, to prepare and train for this mission to go to civilian life? That's a tough question. It's a very fair one, because the nature of civilian life, even the toughest, most hardened combat veterans that we know have said it's not any easier than the military. It's just a different terrain. These were some of the original inspiring ideas, tough ideas, that we grappled with in thinking about how to research and write this book. Rob, please subtract or add or correct me.
No, that was a pretty good start. I guess how about we pause there and ask the crew here if they have any questions on that.
It's not necessarily a question, but it's a concept, an addition, in the fact that when you're training for military, you're training for a mission. You don't know what the mission is. I'm point A training, point B going. Now, there's a lot of variables that changes that mission in between A and B. But at the end, when that mission's over, that you're going to go hopefully back to a safe space or a place where your men are going to go over and reevaluate and see how we're going to do it again. I keep bringing up the Navy SEAL aspect. Again, I'm honored to be in the same room with you, Rob, but at the same time, you guys are the kings of planning, training, and educating these concepts. In life, there's no destination. Our destination is waking up in the morning, probably going to work, hopefully going to work, eating a couple meals in the day, and you get to come home with no insecurities for the most part. Now you can get into the food insecurity and the homelessness and this and that, which is another whole different thing. But you're not driving to get to a time on target. And I do see that being a significant difference between military and you said civilian life, which is a different terrain. And I do agree with that, but there's no destination in the middle of that, unless you're a great planner.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're absolutely right, Mark. And thank you for saying that. So when you look at, the repetition of mission sets and prepping for the mission and going out and doing real world ops and all that, absolutely. Come back doing the AARs, like you have a complete system and process in place. But let's step back to the framework that Alex and I talk about Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. Every one of us stepped on this call to adventure. We all left this known world to go join the military, go through this. And by military doctrine, we went through this, three things. They were like strip the individual of all individuality, put them down or put them through some sort of process to an amalgamated state to be a cohesive fighting force and teach them to kill, train them. So we all went through that. And we kept going through this unknown universe. Like we went through training, we went through trials, we went through some sort of death, rebirth of self. We went through atonement. But when we come back out of this, a lot of times the veterans and what we saw through over 200 interviews is the veteran's mind could be the proverbial fog of war, right? There's something that's in the way of preventing them from finishing that hero's journey. TPI, PTSD, physical injury, moral injury, sexual assault, substance abuse. There's something there. So we wrote the book as a framework to help that veteran close that gap and find that repurpose going out into that civilian world. that new terrain that you just spoke of. But you're right. We left this structure, and now we walk into and we step into an ambiguity every day because there is no structure, really. You have to make your own. So you're hitting on a lot of the points that we discussed. Alex, anything you want to say on top of that?
I think you nailed it.
I hate getting away from the conversation again. I knew we'd probably struggle with this one a little bit tonight. I'm not going to apologize to Brooks. He's been here before. He knows the deal. But I do want to get Brooks in here on the conversation because he is our resident veteran musician tonight. Brooks, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're blessed, man. We're blessed. That's how we are.
Appreciate y'all having me tonight.
What have you been up to, man?
Man, just grinding. I've been traveling a lot, been playing all over the country, and when I'm not traveling, I'm here in Nashville, playing shows, playing writers rounds, writing with other songwriters, and I'm also using the GI Bill to attend Belmont University. I'm in the songwriting program over there.
That's awesome.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Why are you letting that Shannon book harass you?
No, she's got a valid point. I do need to quit chewing on my nails. I don't think anybody could see me in the truck. I was in the shadows back here. She's right.
Oh gosh. Well, the last time I had a chance to hang out with Brooks, I'm sitting at an event down in Nashville. I went down to CRS and also a label launch for Label 22, which is Stephen Cochran and his crew. And I'm sitting there listening to Chris Turner was on stage at the time, and I look across the room and I'm like, it's Brooks, man. It's Brooks. And so we got a chance to hang him for a minute. What an awesome experience the event was. They're doing amazing things down there to accommodate veteran supports for in the music world. And it was just a blessing to hang with you, brother. What song would you like to lead with tonight?
Man, let's ask the crowd. Like, is everybody in a? Do you want to cry or do you want to headbang? Or do you want to just like hear an autobiographical song? I got a lot of stuff out there streaming, so you really kind of we got whatever you want to fit the vibe.
We got your 3 songs loaded, so I want to make sure I got to get through that real quick. We've got Not Country, I Stand, Coming Home lined up.
Yeah, you just let me know which one you want me to introduce, and I'll introduce it.
All right, we'll get it there. Let's go with Coming Home.
So Coming Home, I was actually in a songwriting camp at Endure Studios, all veteran writing camp, and I met a guy named Chris Bickle. Chris is an retired Army Special Forces operator, did 2 years intel and then 18 years in Special Forces. Absolutely incredible human being and amazing songwriter. And he's one of those guys. He still has that discipline that you would expect from guys in that community. Every time I see him, every time I write with him, every time I hear him play guitar, he's that much better because he practices so much. He's so disciplined. But we were actually writing something completely different. And he and I exchanged a bunch of stories and talked about, my deployments, his deployments, everything that we did. And I worked closely with groups, and I was a weapons specialist, but I was not an operator. And I always wanted to be. I got bad color vision, but I got as close as I could. And I was always inspired by those guys and always in awe of those guys and respect that community very much. And so I was just like, a kid at a campfire sitting cross-legged, listening to all his stories. And then we got into the writing room and we were working on a different song, and something overcame me. And it wasn't so much thinking about his experience and thinking, it wasn't like comparing mine to his or anything like that. It was more in my heart. I was thinking about his family, about his wife and his kids. He's got 2 kids, and what they must have gone through while he was doing that. Just, having to jump up in the middle of the night, haul ass to an airstrip, go halfway around the world, do the Lord's work, and hopefully come home each time. And I know as a as a non-group guy, like, I mean, I had a lot of opportunities to communicate with my folks at home. And I've heard from a lot of those guys that there are a lot of missions when they're not able to just call home every day and say, hey, I'm okay. Hey, I'm okay. Like, sometimes you have to disappear and, you know, your family's just left wondering. And that was heavy on my heart. And I started to play that little guitar riff that you hear at the beginning of the song and singing the first verse. And it was just kind of what was coming from my heart. And Jay Denton, our producer, just poked his head around the corner. He's like, what is that? What is that? We're going to do that. Let's switch. Let's do that. And Jay, myself, and Chris, we spent the rest of the night writing and recording that song. We were up until like 2 a.m. working on it and just crying over it. And so that song is one that we did to dedicate to the men and women of the Special Forces community and their families.
You're a blessing, brother. We're excited to hear it. We got Brooks Herring with Coming Home.
Baby, I won't say a word. I don't wanna wake you when I go. Gonna kiss my baby girl. She's gonna miss me, yeah, I know. If I end up gone forever, just know I'll always love you so. I'll go quietly tonight, but soon you'll hear me coming home. You hear me coming home. Some things I don't understand. This isn't everything I'd hoped. I wasn't born to be a fighter, but I'm following my soul. And if I end up gone forever, just know I'll always love you so. I'll go quietly tonight, but soon you'll hear me coming home. You'll hear me coming home. At home, in the morning when you wake, and I'm gone, and I'm half a world away. I'll be back before you know it. See you later, don't lose sleep. You can see me when you're dreaming. I'll be watching quietly. But if I end up gone forever, just know I'll always love you so. I'll go quietly tonight, but soon you'll hear me coming home. You hear me coming.
That's Brooks Herring.
That was,
It's good
yeah,
stuff.
touching. Look, it was exactly what you guys were just talking about. The pieces and parts all around the person that's coming and going, and all the wondering and concern about, from the family members, the kids. We talk about the kids all the time, just that, because we include first responders as well. Sometimes it's a daily call and they're gone, or they can't check back, or however it comes together. and then re-emerging into that life once they come back. Now there's a whole new transition for the family as well as the member, the service member. Song's perfect, bro. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I know Alex and Rob have had conversation after conversation in regards to this as they planned their book, but let's bring a real life scenario into this, just from the cuff. And there's really cool things happened before the show when there was a connection with Alex and Brooks in some station area stuff. And I mean, I'd like to get into that maybe a little bit. But Brooks, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit here, brother. We might have Brooks short time. He's sitting in the parking lot ready to go in to do a gig. We will continue to play his music throughout the night to make sure everyone gets it. You just won't get the lead in. But Brooks, what was missing in your, or maybe not missing, let's be honest. There was a great piece that Alex said at the beginning is, you know, our veterans aren't essentially broken. They just need a direction. They need a resource, a push, a nudge. What was there ever a time where you felt in the process of transitioning from your service into the real world, whether there were some gaps or some pieces missing in your support?
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, we referenced the TAP program already, and I mean, you know, I went through the TAP program, you know, when I got out, and it was, you know, 2 days long, and there's a bunch of PowerPoints, and you had to be there all day long, and you know, everybody just kind of checks out after about 30 minutes of staring at a PowerPoint, and it was more or less of we're gonna. I feel like it was the caution hot label on a McDonald's coffee cup. Like, we're going to put that on there so you can't sue us. It was more like, we're going to give you the basic information on what you can do to say that we did. You know, it wasn't really anything put into practice. And I always, I'll be 100% honest with you. I always felt, what's the word I'm looking for? When I joined, I went to MEPS and I failed the color vision test 7 times before I got kicked out of the room. And that cut a lot of jobs out for me that I really wanted to do. And I never felt like throughout my time on active duty that what I did was enough. And so, you know, when I got out, I was searching for something else to kind of fill that void and had no direction. The year I got out, I spiraled down pretty hard. I was pretty deep. Alcohol abuse, drugs, a lot of different things, and was just about at the end of my rope when I came across a job in Afghanistan that I ended up taking and working for the Army for a few years, and that right there kind of saved my life because I felt like I was back in the fight and had a purpose and a mission again. But I stumbled on that. I stumbled on that in Craigslist. Y'all remember Craigslist? You know,
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't anything that was given to me by the TAP class or any sort of resource. So it was definitely a tough transition. It was a really tough transition for me. And even when I came home from Afghanistan and left that world, it was still really tough trying to kind of find my own way. Eventually I found my way to music, which has always been in my life, and just I never understood how music could be a not only a healing power but a career. I didn't understand how I could do this as a career, and so that just took years and years of trial and error and meeting people and just continuing to try and do anything I could to survive and thrive.
So, with you feeling or looking back in this is and realizing that there could have been a better way, did you know at that time there should be something different? Were you looking? I mean, you were looking for service. We get that because that got you back into it. But what were you looking for in your transition?
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what that was supposed to look like. I mean, my life has changed in a lot of different ways. I mean, when I originally enlisted, like my goal was to retire or die in uniform, one of the two. Like that was it. That was my plan for life, and that has changed multiple times since then. But no, I didn't really have an expectation for what TAP class should look like or what the transition out should look like. I had no idea. So
Yeah, no, and I think that's the answer, to be honest with you. Rob and Alex, your book's the answer.
Brooks, thanks for, hey man, thanks for sharing your story. I think you're highlighting what we've heard for every veteran we spoke with. You're hitting all the notes that we've heard. So sorry, no pun intended with that.
I like it.
So, yeah, it is what the struggle is. I mean, you have to remember when we come back out of this unknown universe, serving the military and what we've accomplished, we all served under a common purpose. It was all defined for us in service of the Constitution. And we come back and we lose our identity, we lose community, and now we have to refine that purpose. That void is everything that we're searching for. And we had a really good friend of mine and Alex, who contributed to the book, Commander Kirk Cronin. So think about, in your service, you were a black belt. You were an expert, you're the subject matter expert in whatever your field, your MOS or whatever it be. All that is stripped from you, and you got to go back to a white belt. You'll figure it out in time, what you're supposed to be doing, like what that purpose is. But man, it sucks going back to being a white belt after everything you just accomplished. And we think we can just put on that rucksack and keep marching and put our head down. Like, I've been through some of the hardest training in the world. I can go do this. I was a soldier. I've been to combat. Like, I can just push through all this. We can't. You have to come back and you have to fix the self. If you look at Heracles' circles of concern, in order for the self to expound or go out to that next level of the family and to be the nexus of everything within the community, you have to fix the self. Alex, anything on that? You're on mute, bud.
Nope. We both hit it.
Is that better?
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Thank you. You've hit on the essential points. I mean, and Brooks, thank you for telling us a part of your story. This is a transition that doesn't get done in the day after you take off your uniform. In fact, what we recommend is that it take 12 to 24 months before you leave the service to prepare for this transition. Separate note, if you have a spouse or significant other or children, they need to be, because they are, a part of this transition. The transition to civilian life is a team sport, and it's got to be thought of in that way. This process of transition for some, for most, takes quite a while. If you listen to Rob's words, this has to do with finding a new identity and purpose. That doesn't happen overnight. We're talking about a change in your own sense of yourself, if you will, your own self-narrative, or the vision you have of yourself, your role in the world. What fulfills you? What is your purpose? How do you contribute? How do you pay your rent here? These things don't happen overnight. They take time to develop. If you want to talk about it in these terms, these things are developing consciousness or awareness, and everyone goes through it in a different way, even though in our book we have identified patterns and therefore the lessons and wisdom of many veterans to help along the way. Specifically, frameworks for reintegration to civilian life and various frameworks to refine purpose. And certainly, as you're doing those things, and before you really can get close to them, just like Rob said, you have to engage in some degree of self-healing, whether your wounds are visible or invisible. And we outline in our book, which is called Warrior to Civilian, the Field Manual for the Hero's Journey, By the way, we have a website also called heroes-journey.net, which has important information like annexes about the book. These things take time to develop. And so this is a life story for most.
I will,
Critical.
if I
Marco.
can, interject for a second here. Just about my process or whatever you want to call it. When I got out, it was 17 years ago or so. It was pretty much a 6-hour crash course on resume writing, and then, have a great day type deal. I already had a job when I got out, so I didn't pay attention to the resume writing anyways. The issue for me is thinking back about this whole process is I couldn't tell you exactly how long it was, but there was probably a good 7 to 10 year gap where I was out and didn't even realize that there was a problem. You know what I mean? In the military, you're taught adapt and overcome. So you just keep adapting and keep trying to overcome, and you're just running your head up against the wall over and over. But anyways, I would say it was probably close to 10 years before I even realized that I'm not, and nobody's the same person they were when they went in, but that there was something that needed to be addressed to make me whole again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is no good spots for transitions tonight. It is what it is, and we are just absolutely again blessed by the content that Alex and Rob bring to us. Brooks, you got time for one more lead in before you got to head out?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to touch on some of that. And that's the realizing there's a problem, or there's not always a problem. For some it's a quick turnaround, for some it's not, and like 7 to 10 years without realizing a problem. I think it took me 7 to 10 years before I could admit that there was a problem.
Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
4 or 5 months, after I was getting out, after I got out, I found myself waking up on a bathroom floor looking for cocaine so I could get moving for the day. Like that was a pretty damn sure sign that there was a problem. But it took a lot longer than that for me to actually acknowledge the problem and make moves to try and fix the problem. Aside from just numbing the problem. And to another, and Rob, to the other point, like I'm not sure if it was you or Alex that said, like, the process should start 12 months before you get out. But I also remember when I was at Walter Reed, like there's a lot of men and women that don't get that choice, that don't know 12 months prior that they're getting out, and they get hit by an IED and lose a leg, and then they spend months in rehab focusing on trying to walk. And then when that's done, then it's like, oh, by the way, now you got to focus on transitioning, now that you're done with this other environment that you become familiar with, So there's a lot to it.
That's a great point, Brooks. You're right. There's folks that don't have that luxury to have that foresight of 12 to 24 months to go through that. You're right. But Brooks, before you jump though, I do want to say, like, I think the power of the arts, what you're doing, we found a lot of veterans who've gone back to that, to look to the arts, music, painting, plays, theater. So we saw a lot of that. So you're definitely leading the way in that. So hats off to you, man.
And I absolutely love it. It's literally saved my life. Like I said, it was always a hobby, but I've really feel like I've tapped into the healing power of it. And I work very closely with some organizations here in Nashville. Creative Vets is a great organization. Creative Vets encompasses all those things that you were talking about. We have songwriting camps. They do physical art like sculpting and pottery, painting, acting. Like there's just so much art in the Creative Vets program. So like whatever it is that helps the Veterans Heal that come through that program is available to them. Also work with Operation Song, which is another songwriting program for veterans. So just love doing that kind of stuff and kind of doing my best to share that healing power that I've found with others.
We had Mike Byer of Operation Song on last weekend. A great guest, great mission, great. Yeah, he's excellent, talented as well. Yeah. Brooks, I stand, not country.
Your pick. I like them both.
So I stand. I stand.
Sweet. So I wrote "I Stand" with Caitlin Croker. Caitlin is an amazing young artist, and y'all should probably get her on here as well. She is not a veteran. She's only 19 years old, but her dad is a retired fighter pilot. Mike is incredible. Her mom, Carolyn, amazing family. She and I, we wrote that on July 2nd of last year. So, it was Independence Day week. The patriotic blood was flowing. And I don't typically put any politics into my music. I try and steer as far from politics as I can when it comes to my work as an artist. I don't want any of that to get kind of muddied up. I've got my beliefs and my political views, and everybody else has theirs. And we're able to do that. We're allowed to do that, and we can do that however we want because of the men and women that have fought and died for this country. And the place where I draw the line politically is the flag. I believe that our flag represents those men and women that have made the ultimate sacrifice. And when our flag is raised and the Star-Spangled Banner is played, I do expect everyone to get off their ass and salute.
We appreciate you, brother. If you gotta go, you gotta go. We understand it, but we got Mr. Brooks Herring with "I Stand."
There's plenty of things in life that can bring you to your knees. Punched in the gutter, making it home after a year fighting overseas. Part of growing up is learning to stand up on your feet. When you die, they'll lay you down. Watch what you do with the in-between. You can kneel to put that ring on her hand and kneel before your God. Kneel to help a friend to their feet when you're the only one they've got. You can kneel at the stone of a hero who laid down their life. When the flag is raised and that music plays, oh say, I better see you rise. I stand, oh I stand. I don't have to like what you say, but I'll die to defend your right. Soldiers, they don't care who you voted for last time.
So show some respect when the glory waves and you hear that sacred tune.
I seen an old man stand and salute from a wheelchair, and damn it, you can too. You can kneel to put that ring on her hand and kneel before your God. Kneel to help a friend to their feet when you're the only one they've got. You can kneel at the stone of a hero who laid down their life. When the flag is raised and that music plays, oh say, I better see you rise. I stand. Oh, so proudly we stand, 'cause divided we fall. At the dawn's early light, she waits for us all. You can kneel to put that ring on her hand, kneel before your God, kneel to help a friend to their feet when you're the only one they've got. You can kneel at the stone of a hero who laid down their life. When the flag is raised and that music plays, oh say, I better see you rise for the USA.
That is Brooks Herring.
Yeah.
With I Stand.
That
Got a
was
heck
super
yeah in there.
patriotic.
Appreciate
I
y'all.
loved it.
Hell yeah. Well, thank y'all so much, Alex, Rob. Much love. Appreciate y'all and everything you're doing. Mark, Andrea, Jonathan, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate y'all. See you again soon. And
Yep.
let's stay
Good
strong.
seeing you, Brooks.
All right now.
Go kill it, brother.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
See ya.
See ya. I like his introduction to that. Without, we always aim to not share our political pieces or our. I didn't see it as political. I see it as very much patriotic. And that one, it's tough coming from the teaching world, and I teach at a middle school, and occasionally there are kids that don't want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, and there may be some former students listening. Anyway, I like to challenge just a little bit. If you know your why, I'm okay with it. If you're just doing it because you saw someone else do it and they just wanted to do it, if you don't have a why, then let's pretend like we love our country and stand up. And you know what I mean? Like they don't understand it. They're just doing it because someone cool thought they would do it. And so I have gotten some good conversations about, the background of things and why they think maybe they've been shorted. And that's okay. And if you have your why, and certainly school is not where I will try to talk you out of your ideas and beliefs. So it's just everything. We work heavily on evidence on things. And so good. Then what's your why? And that's good if you have a why. So, but great song, good, pump you up for the 4th of July kind of song.
I always kind of field or screen the combat veterans. I don't lay a hierarchy in any sense of this in the world, but it doesn't come different. Does that conversation hit differently coming from someone who's been in combat, Rob?
Standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah,
or the national anthem or something like that. I can only speak personally, but yes, it does. Of all the things out there, you can find something else to protest. Don't protest the one thing that's supposed to, coalesce us into a nation. Don't do that. The one thing. And it's half the people to your point, Andrea, half the people that do this don't even understand what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't know the story. They don't know they don't.
I would love to take those people that don't understand and put them in combat gear and like go on a patrol with me.
Right.
Let a few rounds get cracked at them. We'll see what they think now.
You see what this feels like. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or take them to a VA hospital and see what it's like to have suffered.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Probably the easier one than throwing them into combat. You're right, Alex. Yes. Mine went a little extreme. Sorry.
I like the extreme. But it starts at the foundation too. And so my boys all wrestled, and you go to a wrestling tournament and not one little kid is really allowed to run around during the national anthem. Somebody pulls them in and says, hey, look at the flag. You're 2. I know you don't understand, but look what everybody else is doing. And they're pulling, same as racing day, same as, I don't know what other places that, it starts at a young age. And if it's not happening at a young age, then it's not the child's fault at that point. It's a tough one.
It does need to be taught.
Yeah.
To serve needs to be taught. All these things need to be taught. I mean, that's the reality. And I just think it's odd and weird to treat people appropriately. Needs to be taught. I don't know. That's a tough thing for me to take, but with some of the youth I work with, they've never been in an environment where there was a trusted adult to teach them what the appropriate steps are. And it's like, it should be natural, but it's not. Because they've seen the worst of the worst, and it is. What is something? I think we get the theme. I mean, you've said it. It's creeped it out. But what is the thing? Okay, what's the why? We're going to preach the preach here. What is the why? What do you want people to get out of your book, gentlemen?
Alex, you want to take this one first?
Sure. Well, number one, very practical tools, a very practical approach to each of the phases or steps of this transition. Preparing in advance, how to reintegrate. A whole series of chapters on healing the wounds of war, whether visible or invisible. A practical approach. As Rob said earlier, the core of our book and the core of a successful transition, whether from the military to civilian life or anything else we've discovered from all this research, is being clear about your sense of identity and your purpose. If you have that, you can hang on to that in difficult times. It will enlighten your sense of what you're meant to do here. I think that we devote a substantial chapter to spouses and family members because there's no other book that does that. What do we hope people get out of it? We hope people get a series of practical tools from these things. But beyond that, they get a way to look at their lives, as Rob described, as Rob said, as part of a hero's journey, their own hero's journey. If veterans or the rest of us can reconsider our lives as this call to adventure, leaving home, this period of tremendous growth, adventure, service, sacrifice, loss, healing from that loss, and then coming back home. This is a way of looking at the great epic tales of all time, like Homer's Odyssey. But we have reconfigured it in service of veterans and their spouses to look at their lives for when they come back. This is not a practical thing. This is a conceptual way to look at your life. And if you do that, you find great purpose and we would say nobility in your service and how you come back and how you can use that for the benefit of those around you. That is a much bigger topic than the practical steps, but it's one that is profound and available to all veterans and spouses. Rob, take it away.
That was pretty well said. I'm trying to think if there's anything to add to that. But we all answered this great call to adventure, and we all went and did this. But through that journey of you don't have to go to combat to go experience these things of great success, great failures, transitions, traumatic events. You don't have to go to combat to experience those things. Alex was able to take a step back as the civilian side of this and put these universal themes together that just because you're in the military or in combat, you're still going to experience these things when you get out. And to have a reference book or have a practical manual where you can go back and look at these things and be a guide was a tremendous why for why we did this. We synthesized all this information for them, for the veteran, to make it easy because they're already going to have stress getting out. So we went and did the work for them.
I kind of want to. I'm gonna come at you a little bit, Rob.
Sure.
Here we go.
Go for it.
When you got out, same question that I asked Brooks. Mm-hmm. Did you feel or know that you needed something else?
So my parting psych eval, which I fought tooth and nail to go do, my parents convinced me to go do it, was, and at this point I'd never spoken to anybody about the numerous losses that I had, friends in combat. And, I got my psych eval, stuffed in my medical record, got out, just figured I could just go conquer the world, do whatever I wanted. It was probably 2 years. Alex knows this story and he's encouraged me to tell it, but driving to work, I almost broke my molars because I would just, in frustration of having to go sit behind a desk. I was doing investment banking, sit behind a desk and look at, multiple screens of Excel. Like, this is my life. Like 6 months ago, I was jumping out of airplanes. Like the dentist, they're like, "What are you doing?" like, are you grinding your teeth? And I didn't notice until they said something. I was clenching my teeth the entire way driving to work. I almost cracked my molars. So, yeah, I mean, you ask a great question. I mean, it took me 2 years, but then it took me going through a divorce, really, with a newborn, to go back and read my medical record. I pulled this out and said, highly susceptible to forming PTSD. But I ignored it. Like every veteran, I ignored it. Just because every time I came out of combat, I went through a psych eval. They're like, it was like the wink across the table, like, look, say these things, because the last thing we can do is if they pull our security clearance, we can't operate. So I'm like, yep, I'm good, got sleep, everything was great, this is what I experienced. Nope, none of that affected me. And I just kept on. Well, I defaulted back to what I knew. I fell back to the pattern I knew. Is like I internalized it, compartmentalized, and realized not that good at it, because it started disrupting all parts of life. And Alex, when Alex and I met 5 years ago, writing this book, working at the same private equity shop, you know, he started asking the very tough questions that you're asking right now, Mark. But I had already been through and I got the help. I was like, okay, I can be vulnerable about this. I can talk about this. But it was very, I'm sorry, last comment, and then I'll put it back for comments. And then Alex, if you want to add, I took my son back to Coronado, and he's one of my SEAL instructors. He was a master chief at the time. And it dawned on me when he pulled me aside one night. He's like, "Hey, Rob, how you doing?" And I was like, well, you know, "What do you mean, Dan? I'm doing great." Like, what do you mean? He's like, No, man. How you doing?" And I'll take out some of his words, but he's like, "Rob, look, anybody who's gone over there and done the work we've done, we're all jacked up. And to go over there repeated times, you're going to have more issues." He's like, "How are you doing?" And when he said that, I finally realized, like, okay, we're all not okay. We all have to kind of go through this process to figure these things out. But mine being very different, but the central themes were there. I didn't seek self-help, and I had to go hit rock bottom in my own ways. Mark, I'm sorry. Did I answer the kind of the question there?
You're good. These are the things that I really do think that others need to hear. We have Mr. Stevens on here, who's just recently written a book with 1821 Productions. He's like wants to get your book, and these are the things. It doesn't fall on deaf ears. It doesn't fall. Everyone on here, and minus, I mean, have been in that space, and there are some people that are capable and able to compartmentalize in certain levels in different things. When I came out, I went in to be an EMS and work as a firefighter. Well, that's probably not the greatest idea on the face of the earth now that I look back, but I appreciated the opportunity to continue to serve. But now I have to deal with the car crashes. I have to deal with the drug overdoses. I have to deal with all the stuff. And my truth is my service. I was in artillery. I skated through, man. It was hard work, but I didn't have to see the front edge of stuff. I'm 30 miles away.
I still loved you. I still loved you regardless, because we called in a lot of artillery. So don't discount yourself there, bud.
But again, don't. So I do want to say that there was never a moment that I knew we were sending some heavy downrange, and I'm like, I just hope to God everyone on the other side of this is safe. And that is on our side. That's where we sit. And
I've seen
landing.
Yeah, I've seen some HIMAR rounds go wrong. In Afghanistan. But no, you're right. I mean, these are. I think once you go through this process of figuring these things out, is you can step back and understand. You can control your own narrative. You control your own story. And but if you think about it, in the military, we really don't. We're always told what to do, where to be, what to wear. But for the first time in life, we have this freedom of choice. So we can control our own narrative. But you can't control your own narrative until you get help.
We joked at the start of the show about time on target because that's essential in the military. And granted, stuff changes, time on target. But when you're living life, I sat in another conversation on restorative conversations out of school one day, and they're like, well, you got to be on time. And the lady looked right at us and, why? What's going to happen if you're not on time? And that's a different conversation in the two theaters, the theater of life and the theater of the military, because everyone is counting on you in the military. Yes, people should be counting on you in the civilian world, but whether you make it to Quick Trip in time in the morning to make the pot of coffee doesn't make 2 hill of beans for anybody else in the real world. Alex, you've been on a journey with Rob. You've adopted, you've built a relationship, you've written a book together. This is not an attack. This is just a conversation. So, yep, here it comes. Do you consider yourself an expert in this area?
Well, I don't like talking about myself, but I would say you asked me 2 questions there, Mark, kind of sneaky of you. I would say the last 5 years of our research. What do we mean by that? We've interviewed over 200 people, mainly veterans, experts across every field. We've read every book and article available, including ones out of print. We've collected data. We've gone to libraries. We have synthesized data from a social scientist approach. We've given this project everything we've had. We are very seriously devoted to our families. We have day jobs we love. This has been our passion project. This has been, I think, for each of us, a powerful experience in working on the book. The working on the book for each of us and how we have teamed up about it has itself been a journey. It has been a cathartic experience for each of us in different but utterly parallel ways. From that standpoint, one of the things that has been really fascinating and motivating is our partnership, our military-civilian partnership, has forced us to explain things and go dig deeper than either one of us would have known to do or seen to do. So these 5 years and the working on the book and the speaking and the talks and working with companies that has now come from it has been a tremendous journey. And it's a journey that I don't think Rob and I feel we could have done separately or alone. It has been an amazing life adventure. If you're talking about, going to hitchhike down the Appalachian Trail together, maybe that's next, but we haven't done that yet.
Fair enough. Rob, back to you. I'm going to limit the question, but I know there's probably many facets that go into this. What's your number one takeaway from this book process?
My English teachers were wrong. I can put words into sentences and sentences into paragraphs. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry,
that way.
Andrew. I know you're an educator, but I know they're sitting in with red pens, ready to go after me. The number one thing I took through this, it was cathartic in a way, having to go through the processes that I did and go to get the medical help that I did, and having to go write about it and teach people. Because at the end of the day, we were all in the service, right? Well, service is a verb. We're in the service of others. So if I could go take my experiences and give it back to the next person, to give it to my brothers and sisters still in arms, to prep to get out, or the veterans struggling to get out, that Like, hey, look, I did the research. Go look at this. That's probably the biggest takeaway that I took out of this 5 years, was a continuation of service.
Love it. Love that piece. I love that piece. Alex, what's your biggest takeaway from this so far?
I would give you 2. I think
I'd be breaking the rules.
I think you can handle it. I think it's we civilians who have the most to gain from the wisdom of returning veterans. Working with veterans on this has been an amazing experience. Whether enlisted or 4-star, everyone contributed. Everyone wanted to share in service of other veterans. And yet, and we can talk a lot about what that means in history and ancient times and what it means for our society, but it's we civilians that really stand to gain the most. That's number one. And number two is we share, whether veteran, military, or civilian, we share a common humanity, a common life experience. If we can see that in each other, if we can help each other along these journeys of service, return, healing, lifting up others around ourselves, if we can see this in each other, our hearts become bigger, we become better people. That's number two.
I told Andrea after we got done with our interview the other day, I was out of my intellectual league when I was dealing with you, Alex. It's just, I'm just a gun bunny.
Mark, I'm putting my hand in my wallet when I hear that, okay?
Okay. Rob, what do you want this to do?
I would love for this book and this research to be a transformation and a calling back to DOD to go revamp their program. So everything we talked about in the military, right? We always talk about left of bang, left of launch. If we can get out in front of this, if we can put this research in the right people's hands, whether we digitize that or we work with the VA or the DOD to get this knowledge into folks' hands to start planning and start having those communications more with their families and their spouses, the less stress. Alex and I are firm believers that if we can do this left of launch, we're going to save someone's life along the way. And that's just by educating the people, all the work that we've done. That's our biggest hope in this, in doing this. Yeah.
Alex, what do you want to get out of this?
We want to serve. We're not making a dime off this book. It's the same answer as Rob's. We want to help people. We want to prevent people hurting themselves. We want to serve those who have stood on the wall for us. It's very simple.
Hey, this is such an intriguing conversation. There's so much. It's how do we get you guys? And we thought, because again, you don't know what you don't know. It's like coming out of the service. You really don't know what you don't know. And this handbook, field book, is supposed to help with that process. But how do we expand this platform? How do we get more people into this conversation? I mean, this is an example of it, but how do we get to the next level?
I'm willing to bet that there's someone that listens to your show or follows you that has the right person we can get to. And that
guy's going to get hold of you, just so you guys know. David Willis will get hold of you. David, this is for real, guys.
There's someone that knows the right path or the right person we should be talking to that can take this, to your point, to the next level. As we search for that person and we search for that right path, I mean, what Alex and I can do is hope that we can expand our research and expand our message.
Are you guys all right with David Willis has a sit rep podcast. You guys all right if I pass your information on to them through your handler?
That works. That works great. Right. Thank you. Thank you for doing
on
that.
The way, brother.
Yep.
And this is how it works. This is getting the conversation out. He's out on the far west coast, and again, planting the seeds, creating the opportunity. The one thing that we have to figure out, and you, Rob, probably have experienced this before. I mean, whether you're a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger or a cook, there's always this divide in the system of stop it. Whether combat warrior or non-combat warrior, stop it, guys, and women, stop it. You've all done something more than 90% of our country has done. Stop dividing. I mean, we already got that in other places. That's
we induce a lot of we induce institutional friction for no reason. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all have to meet at the table sometime, and sometime if it's not working the way you want it to do, but it's functionally progress, you have to engage, go along with the ride for the moment. Your skills and tools will be effective in another space, and that's the piece that we all have to realize. So excited. You guys want to hear another Brooks Herring song?
Yes.
Let's get that done, and then we'll come back and do final thoughts.
Sounds good.
This is Brooks Herring, Not Country. I don't have a lead-in for it, but this is what he gave us, and this is his song, Not Country.
I didn't drop a deer every morning from a deep woods pine tree stand, but I've been hunting half a world from home, put blood in the desert sand. I didn't pray for rain or grain, I just prayed to survive. I didn't wear red wings or Stetson, but there's cowboy in my eyes. I might not be what you call country until the country calls. First in line to answer, pack it up and risk it all. I'm not one for church on Sunday till another of us falls. I might not be what you call country, no, until the country calls. A different kind of camo, and my rifle ain't the same. The jacked up trucks are bulletproof, and the radio won't play hang. I might not be what you call country until the country calls. First in line to answer, pack it up and risk it all. I'm not one for church on Sunday till another of us falls. I might not be what you call country till the country calls. I've got a couple of tags, they hang here on this chain, and I'll reap what I've sown, but it won't make it to your place. I might not be what you'd call country until the country calls. First in line to answer, pack it up and risk it all. I'm not one for church on Sunday until a brother of mine falls. I might not be what you'd call country, no, until the country calls. Till the country calls. There's no 12-point on my wall, but there's scars on my soul. The only trophy on my mantle is a flag I don't unfold.
That is Brooks Herring with Not Country.
Good stuff.
What do you guys think of Brooks?
I think he's awesome. He's doing great.
You gonna put him on your playlist?
Loaded.
It's just so everyone knows, Brooks is already on WeP3 Radio, and if you don't know what WeP3 Radio is, all you gotta do is type it into your Google search, WeP3 Radio, and you will hear a radio station that is put together that is exclusively veteran and first responder music created content. That's something we thought was important to do, and every time we have one of these interviews, we get people come back to us and say, well, why aren't they already on the radio? I'm like, do you know how big the music world is, and do you know what they have to compete with? And I need to let you know, these men and women served first. They didn't go to the School of Juilliard. They didn't go straight to Nashville. They didn't have mommies and daddies to line their pockets either. So, yeah, thanks, David. Thanks for doing that. It's important. Gosh, guys, come tomorrow at 4:30 for We Got Your... Nope, that's not the right show. For WeP3 Weekly Debrief. The things we're getting done, and we are blessed again by the people that are finally starting to see the value of reaching back to the veteran and first responders. And happy heroes make happy communities. That's the way I'm going to put it. So what is next for Alex and Rob?
We're going to continue to push the book out there, push our research, and then on the side, we're working with companies to stand up veteran integration programs to do this correctly. I went through a failed program. We've seen a lot of the Fortune 500 companies that don't do this correctly, so we're out there trying to educate the other side of this. So the book is to help on one side as the preparatory, the left of bang, left of launch approach, and then we're trying to help on the other side of that equation now.
Alex?
That's it. Rob nailed it.
That's it. Are the corporations interested? I mean, I'm not attacking anyone here, but are they interested in helping out in this area?
You asked your question in a very skeptical manner. So let's give you some stats. There's a lot of companies that have their hearts and heads in the right place. Hiring veterans is on the agenda for many companies. It's not enough. And here's the stats that back that up. Of U.S. companies, public and private, only 7% have a veterans program. Now, more than that, by a lot, might hire veterans. But simply hiring veterans, and if you pardon my making a dig, sending out a nice message on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, you're in good company, but you're not very effective. Because while veterans represent a unique pool of candidates for jobs because of their training, their experience, their skills, their leadership, transitioning to the job takes a little bit more work. If companies do that, everyone benefits. The veterans become far more productive. Their skills, their energies, their motivation, their purpose are harnessed. And if you don't, it's the opposite. Within 1 year, on average, 43% of veterans in their first job out leave at the end of year one. At the end of year two, it's 80%. That's an astonishing failure rate. What comes with that are turnover costs that are often hidden at companies. we commissioned a study on economic grounds to show that in all the different ways it hits. 40% of Fortune 500 companies, our biggest companies in this country, do not have a veterans program. Again, they may hire, but they have no systematic, thoughtful way of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, integrating, collecting data. There's a lot that can be done. A lot is being done, but more can be done.
Rob, what was in your glass?
Tequila, straight.
Straight. Okay, fair enough. That's good.
Yeah.
Thought it'd be something bougie, like a old fashioned or something. You know?
No, just straight tequila. Nope.
I'm exploring here a little bit with this question, with no intent or no judging. Again, don't put yourself in a bad spot. We had kind of a conversation about the optics of Navy SEALs in the world, and I don't know that I don't know a famous Navy SEAL. I mean, they're all famous, and that was something that you said. I'm not interested in that space. There's a TV series called SEAL Team, but do you ever watch that?
I think I made it to like when the first season came out. Someone said, "Hey, Rob, you should watch this," and I got about 5 minutes in and I turned it off.
Fair enough.
It is highly. The first couple seasons were highly accurate. With whoever they got to consult on that show did really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always interesting, and I'm watching a new series now. Not that it matters, but it's America Primal, and there's just little funny things like all these dead Native Americans and soldiers laying out on the ground with frost and snow laying on them, and then they said there's fly sounds around them. Well, there's not going to be any flies around, folks. That's just, I don't know why that's there, but and any firefighter TV show I watch or EMS TV show, there's so many flaws and stuff, and I'm assuming you see those pieces. There is occasionally a good message through their stuff, and they do send and have the conversations about PTSD and suicide awareness and those pieces. But again, folks, remember, these shows are put together for the sake of entertainment.
Yep.
And I'm entertained because it's an area that I enjoy. But again, I just pick it to pieces, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, we're in our space. We can touch on so many. Let me ask this question, because your handler did such an amazing job prepping us, and then our pre-show meeting helped us. Are there any questions that you know are on your guys' list that you want to make sure that we address tonight?
You guys did a great job covering everything, I think.
Can I ask kind of an additional one? Because you did tons and tons, and I looked on your website, it references a lot of the interviews. What was and I apologize because I looked at so many, the range of experiences with the people that you interviewed. Like, I know some are very, very, very long-term and probably aren't even out yet, but did you also cover those who maybe had one deployment and came back?
Yes. So, through network upon network, getting connected to folks, we had, an E2 that unfortunately he's a friend of mine. He's busted down a few ranks. So he got out as an E2. If you do the math, you do 4 or 5 years, you should at least be getting out as an E5, E6. And then we're all the way up to some of the storied generals of these 20 years war. The guys, yeah. So it's anything and all between. Every
and
rank.
I saw one from Minnesota, from Duluth, actually, a name we hear in the circles in Minnesota, which was very cool. Jeremy has a quick question. Jeremy's always about the tacos. Gosh darn.
The only problem, Jeremy, is that tacos didn't come in MREs. That's the problem. So, they should readdress that, I'm sure. I think there was a time when they did. Like, you would get a pack of tortillas with some ground meat in one of them. I think there was a moment where that happened, but I can't. That might have been a wishful thought, too.
I'm sure that was more terrible than I can imagine.
I don't know if you're there, if you can speak to it yet. And I know you're working on things in the background. Do you think there will be a list of, I don't know if it's will be groups or we said corporations, but places, people, experiences that you have found to do the best job walking people through the transitioning piece? Will you recommend? Do you think you'll compile?
All that's done. Yeah, we did all that work on the website in the annexes. We filtered through all the right organizations. It's all listed out. Yep.
Okay. I maybe did not get that deep in there. Okay.
We want to be real respectful of your time. We do finish the show with final thoughts. Jonathan normally starts the show, or not starts the show, starts the final thoughts. He's been the most eloquently spoken person in the past. I think he's now, he might get fired. We're going to bring Alex on maybe full time. But Jonathan, go.
I don't know what to say now. I appreciate you guys and what you're doing. As I alluded to during the show, I think there was some large gaps in when I got out and that transition process that took place. I will definitely get your book and read it. I think that there's a large need for what you guys are doing and putting out there. But I also love when things come together, and it seems like everything that we talked about tonight and once again the music pieces all kind of played together accidentally, but it just works out perfect, as it often tends to do on the podcast. I wish Brooks was here to tell him how much I appreciated his music as well. But Rob and Alex, I'm very interested to know and follow you guys and learn more about that civilian and veteran connection that you guys got, and how that plays into integrating into the world of I mean, from the military standpoint, when I got out, I was probably roughly about 6 months out of combat, and then off the home. And I know some people don't get that much time, but there's just a lot of things that I'm interested to read and learn from what you guys have spent the time researching. And I'll just end with saying I appreciate it, and I'm about to dive in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your guys' time today.
Yeah.
Alex, your final thoughts, brother.
The transition is hard. It's a transition of a momentous, life-transforming nature. It's not exclusive to veterans. Veterans and their spouses have their own version of it, which needs to be taken very seriously. Having said that, in the recent past, there has been revolutions in therapies, in awareness of veterans' issues, in modalities of healing and therapies. More than ever, we would say, if you're down, if you're feeling alone, do not quit. There's help, there's resources, there's light always just around the corner. Hold on to that.
Rob.
Alex said it pretty eloquently. I'll leave with Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going.
Or was that Rodney Atkins?
Probably repeated by Atkins, but Churchill. Yeah.
Miss Eichmann.
All right. Well, so I wrote some things down as we were going through this. I think the strongest thing I pulled out is just on the oodles of tonight's information and advice, though, which I think coming from the civilian side, we could apply all across the board, but being clear about your sense of identity and purpose, that's just communicate and speak your truth. What movie doesn't go awry when people don't communicate to each other or don't speak the truth, or what crush or love or friendship goes bad and it was a miscommunication? So I love hearing that and putting it in the spouses and the family piece. And then Alex, when you said civilians gain the most by talking to and listening to those who have served and come back. And I think that connects you and I mean, I'm not here because I have a personal injury or a personal issue, vendetta, wish. I have nothing except my love to support those who have served. And with that comes the stories. Clearly, I've never been there and I won't see it, I hope, in my lifetime. I just have to live through their words and the stories that they can share. And when I go to school and say, listen, we need to know this so we don't repeat it. And that ties into standing for the flag. We're a great country and we need to keep this in the forefront to stay a great country, and it all falls together. So thank you, both of you, for all of the the information, the sharing, and Brooks, you never know when that personal connection just boop right from the bat. You guys connected. So I just thanks so much for being here. I feel like there's more. We would probably love to do more, and definitely want to hear more. So I have to start the book tonight. I have 2 chapters left of the other book I was reading, and I didn't even know about the audiobook. So boom, we'll get that done. Yep, there's Jeremy Daniels. He leads us and ends us with this quite often. Thank you, Jeremy. Next week we will be hearing from Ms. Charlie Brown. I believe Kimmer brought her to us, and then Donnie Reese,
Salvation Army supporter that is out helping veterans and first responders.
Yes, all the time, every day, just super, super busy, super energy. And then we have music with, Donnie Reese is coming to share his story in his life. He's with War Hippies formerly. They're going through a change. And so we'll get what we can from that, and Donnie visiting the show. So I think that's it. Yeah.
We have been absolutely blessed by the conversation tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you, Brooks Herring, for coming and being part of the shock and awe. We got your 6 at 6. Kind of reflect by something Alex says. You have 100% made it through your worst days. If you're hearing this message right now, you've made it through all the 100% of them. Know that there are resources. Know that there are people that will come to your corner when you are in the middle of your fight. We are here. We will continue to be there, and we will always have an open heart, an open mind, and an open door for anyone who's been in the mission of serving their country, their communities, and their families. Patriot Pride, again, come check us out tomorrow at 4:30 to see what the People's Patriot Project is working on. We appreciate everyone that's been here tonight. Thank you for all your comments. Patriot Pride.
Patriot Pride.